Throughout my journey as a psychic medium, I have noticed my own gifts wax and wane, just like the cycles of the moon. And as I began to really dive into why this was, I started to notice a certain pattern. And I want to share that with you because if you're psychic or intuitive, or if you're a psychic medium, you may have noticed the same things. So my name is Nicole Antoinette. I'm a psychic medium and spiritual coach, and I create videos that help people to get more insight on their spiritual journeys and their psychic gifts. So if you're a psychic medium, you may go through seasons where your mediumship is spot on. In fact, you may go through seasons where you can't even leave the house without encountering a ghost or talking to a spirit. And when that happens, it can be both overwhelming, but also very exciting because you know that the information you're getting is correct and it's flowing so easily. It's like you're able to have this wonderful, profound experience and conversation with the other side. However, on the flip side, we can also go through seasons where it's not as easy, where it feels as if we're pulling teeth to get answers. We can make a conscious decision to connect to the other side, but nothing happens. And when that takes place, it's really easy for us to think as if we're broken and something is wrong with us, especially if that season is going on for a while. I know that I'm not the only medium who goes through this. I've spoken to other mediums, both well known and not well known, but all incredibly gifted. And it turns out this is actually a pretty common phenomenon. And when I look at my own life and why it happens for me, I have noticed that there seems to be some very specific things that take place that hinder my mediumship. And so I want to share that with you because I think it's kind of a different concept than what you've heard before. And if it resonates with you, I think it can really help you. I think that the more we understand our gifts, including why they work and why they don't, we can have more compassion and understanding for ourselves and be less critical of ourselves when we're not able to make the connection that we desire to make. When I look back at my life and I think of those times when my mediumship was just turned on at its brightest level, I noticed that there were two things in common. One is that I felt completely safe and secure. And this isn't necessarily that I felt safe and secure in my mediumship abilities. I've always and probably always will struggle with imposter syndrome and that little voice of doubt when it comes to this ability. But I felt safe in my home. I felt safe in knowing that I had a roof over my head and that my bills were paid. So I felt relatively safe in my environment. And I didn't worry about whether or not I was going to be able to eat the next day, right? So basically, I felt safe and I knew that my very basic needs, survival needs, were met. This may not seem like a big deal to you. Maybe you've just always been in a position where you always knew there would be a roof over your head and you've always had food to eat and you've always had access to clean water and showers when you needed them. And if that's the case, you have a lot to be grateful for. But for me, when I was a child, I was actually homeless as a teenager due to some poor financial situations that my parents had made. And I've actually been homeless a couple times as an adult as well. When I'm in these huge transitions where I don't know where I'm going to live and I don't know how I'm going to meet my own needs, that can be very scary for me. And I've noticed that when I have that fear, when I have that worry, and when my life is in that type of fluctuation, I'm not able to connect to the spirit world. I can still talk to angels. I can still connect to my spirit guides. But loving spirits on the other side who want to talk to their loved ones who are still here on earth, that's a little bit harder for me to connect to. I can't seem to do it. And if I do, it's rare. It does happen on occasions and it doesn't last. The connection rarely ever seems as strong. The second thing that I've noticed for myself is that when I have a very secure network of friends or a social network or social community, in person friends. Ah, man, that just makes the extrovert in me so excited. It makes the inner child in me so happy because I do love to be around people and I love to engage in meaningful conversations and quality time with them. So, for example, I love going on 5Ks. I love going to amusement parks. I love going to picnics. Like, I love all of that stuff. And I love to do it even more in a group of people. They don't even necessarily need to be my friends. We just have to, all be moviegoers or all be amusement park enthusiasts. So I even love spending time with acquaintances and strangers who become new friends. So when I have a strong social life and I'm feeling really good and I'm feeling loved and accepted and I'm having fun, that's another time when my mediumship abilities just completely glow up. When I have that combination of feeling safe and knowing that my basic primal needs are being met, and I have a strong social circle, whether it's acquaintanceship or friends that I can have deep conversations with, all of my abilities, all of my spiritual abilities light up, and everything feels so magical and so easy, and it's wonderful. However, you take even one of those away, and my mediumship suffers. And I know that that's partly because my sense of well being isn't doing well either. And so I'm sharing this with you because I'm sure that the things that make you feel safe are probably different than mine. Yes, we all need to be in an environment where we feel safe and we know that our needs are met. That's a given. But maybe you're more introverted. Maybe you feel better when you're able to spend more time alone. Maybe you're not as social as I am. And what I have come to find is if you take the time to look at your life and look at the times when mediumship worked and didn't work, you're going to find what I call anchors. These are anchors. Now, this is kind of a new idea, at least I think it is. I've never heard another medium or psychic teacher speak on this. There are energetic anchors that help us to feel secure. And so when those things are in our life, we feel anchored, we feel secure, we feel grounded in life and in our gifts as well. So there's kind of this domino effect. And so for some people, their anchor can be another person. For example, there is a medium I know who was in a long lasting marriage. She'd been married for quite a long time, couple decades, I think. And her and her husband, for whatever reason, decided to absolve their marriage. And it was a mutual decision. It was not something that they both came to easily. This was obviously devastating because this was a marriage that had lasted for quite a long time. When her and her husband divorced, she noticed that her mediumship abilities began to fade. They were still there, they just weren't as easy to connect to. And as her and her husband remained separated, she noticed that when she would get on stage to do platform mediumship, her readings, they just didn't have the same feel. They didn't have the same pizzazz. And people were noticing this too. People who had been going to her for years noticed that something was off. Eventually, her and her husband were able to come back together as friends. They never got remarried. They're incredibly close. And when that happened, her mediumship abilities began to glow up again, light up, just like they had when they were first together. And so my theory is that her husband, or rather ex-husband, is her anchor. This is someone who makes her not just feel good, but makes her feel secured. And there's something about him that also allows her mediumship abilities to expand. And so your anchor can be a parent. Your anchor can maybe be a pet or several pets. Your anchor can maybe even be something inside of you. Like if you like working with your chakras and you notice that the more you work with your own chakras or your spirit, that's what feels like home to you. That's what feels safe. And so I'd like to invite you to ask spirit and ask your inner guidance what your anchors are when it comes to mediumship or psychic abilities. Wherever you are on the psychic spectrum, pay attention to what makes you feel safe. Pay attention to those experiences and those seasons in life where your abilities feel easier than they usually are. And I do believe that this is relevant on pretty much all spiritual gifts, whether you are an energy healer, whether you are a psychic, of course, a medium, whatever type of title or gifts that you identify with, I think it's going to be the same for you. And that said, I have noticed that even when I am not settled into my anchors, even when I don't have the social circle or the security that I long for and I crave, other abilities for me work just fine. Psychic abilities are fine, energy healing, it still works. Channeling works as well. But mediumship, there definitely ends up being a breakdown in that. So you might find that you have certain abilities that are a little more challenging for you. And when those anchors, when those things are missing from your life that you can't anchor yourself into, those things that make you feel solid and grounded when they're missing, you might find that those challenging gifts that you have start to suffer as well. They don't, you don't feel as secure in them. They don't light up as much. So, what do you do in that situation? I think you just acknowledge it. I think you just acknowledge that that's where you are, that that's what your anchor is. Because when you know what or who is your anchor or what type of experiences allow you to feel that form of security and allow your abilities to light up, that gives you the ability to understand when they're not working to their capacity. And that way you can actually be more compassionate towards yourself because now you understand what experiences and what needs to be in place for your abilities to completely light up. I don't think it's possible for us to replace those anchors. I don't think we can replace the things that work well for us in mediumship or whatever else it is. But I do think that we can possibly find more. I think we can find more anchors. And the way we do that is by exploring. We explore our inner world and our outer world with a sense of curiosity. And we just notice, like, does my spirit feel anchored when I'm at the Grand Canyon? Does my spirit feel anchored when I'm going for a drive? When I listen to music daily and I sing my heart out at the top of my lungs? Maybe when I take long baths or when I go for a run, do I feel anchored when I'm close to people? Like, what's your anchor? And how is that affecting your mediumship? And are there possibly more anchors out there than what you originally thought? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but it's definitely something we can explore. So I hope this video is helpful for you. If you know other people who could benefit from this message, please share it with them. And also, I would love to hear your take on this. Like I said, this is kind of a new idea that I was playing with and that I came up with. And I really do think that there's something to it. At least there's something to it for me. And I hope there's something to it for you. As usual, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to learn more about me, please visit my website, guidingechoes.com, and I'll see you in the next video.